So we'll now move on to our first session of the day. It's really dealing with the conference title, Bioenergy Now, Let's Make It Happen. As you will notice, there's a blend of both biomass, biomethane, biogas, and also biofuel discussions right throughout the day. We know that there's people here that are interested in some sectors and maybe not in others, but we've tried to mix it up right throughout the agenda. So first, to give you an overall picture of what the association does, what the key areas are, and what the key items that members are asking us to work on their behalf. I'm delighted to welcome Noel Gavigan to the stage. Noel will present on the title Bioenergy in Ireland from Opportunity to Reality Through Action and Delivery. So Noel is the technical executive for IrBEA since 2010. His main work is in project delivery, technical backup for members, and management of the wood fuel quality assurance scheme. Noel has also been centrally involved in some of IrBEA's main R&D projects over the years, including the Biomass Trade Centres project, Biogas 3, did extensive work in terms of the Digeste standard piece we did quite a number of years ago, and that's currently been refreshed. The Midlands Bioenergy Development Project, and most recently the completed small-scale biogas demonstration project, which he'll outline to you. We also have a trade area here, or a stand area, where we have lots of literature and information, so if any of you would like any information about any of the sectors, there's information literature here. And also there's a handout which we gave out last week at the farm-scale biogas demonstration event for anyone that wasn't able to make it. We have the handout from that event here as well, if anyone would like to talk or read it. So I'd now call on Noel to give his presentation, and over to Noel.
Oh, thanks very much, Sean. So I'm just going to run through a synopsis of where the industry is at, what the association is doing in the different sectors, just to give people here, everyone who works in their own area, and just to give people a flavour of exactly what the industry is about and the different areas. Now, first off, in terms of those of you that are not familiar with the association, so it was established in a little over 25 years ago, predominantly to look at the areas we still look at today, which is wood fuels, biogas, liquid fuels, and all coming from biological sources. We've added in biochar since that about 10 years ago, but predominantly we're working around those areas. We have a large group of members right across the industry. We do a lot of work in terms of lobbying for different sector supports, for basically work with government as much as we possibly can to try and get the right conditions in place and to get the right supports, and basically to point out what bioenergy can do as a technology in terms of meeting Ireland's overall targets. So we have many years experience in that area. Just in terms of the organisation itself, we have 5 directors. It's a non-profit organisation. There's a council which is voted up from the membership, and we have various individual groups within the organisation that cover certain sectors. So we have groups for the biogas, biomethane, for solid biomass, for the wood fuel quality assurance scheme, for biochar, for transport, and then we just have an organisational group as well. So, and then it's a 5-person executive team within the association. And all of those committees are open to membership from general membership, bar the WFQA, which is voted up through its own system. We also do a webinar series. There's almost 50 webinars we've done in the past of all different topics to do with the industry. That's available on our YouTube channel if you want to check that out. We cover all sectors of bioenergy and that. And we have a series of fact sheets which are actually on the table here, so covering various technologies, and we're adding to that as time goes on as well. We find they're simple back-to-back pages just to explain the various different areas within our sectors. The role of bioenergy in general, what's it got in terms of zero carbon future? We have some huge targets to meet across the globe in terms of getting to net zero by 2050 or 2040, whatever you wish to go by, and to get the production of carbon down. The United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, we have a number of different statements there from them, but they strongly recognise the role that bioenergy can play, both in terms of displacing fossil fuels, but also in terms of carbon removal, which we'll talk about on the biochar side, but as long as it's done responsibly. And we have to, the big thing that has happened over the last 10 years has been working towards sustainable biomass sustainable biomethane and liquid fuels as well, because we have to ensure those resources that we're going to use are not going to cause other sustainability impacts. So under that, and I think it's important for everyone here to understand, the governance of that really comes through the Renewable Energy Directive on the bottom corner, or RED 3 as it's now called. We're on the third iteration of it. That's a long negotiated piece of work. That's a European regulation. All member states must adhere to that. And it sets out very, very detailed criteria of how you determine whether something is sustainable or not. And it looks towards protecting all the various sensitive ecologies that are out there for it. So it's a very good report, and it's something we work by, or a very good regulation. Our own view on it is that bioenergy has a huge role to play, and it's the role of many in terms of both heat transport and electricity, particular heat, because it lends itself very well to heat, but also on both the transport and electricity sectors. The other key benefits would be that it's indigenous. It's being indigenous supply, it's creating jobs, it's displacing imports. So for Ireland's overall trade balance is good. It's good for energy security, and those benefits are something that go far beyond not just the environmental and greenhouse gas sectors. In terms of world use of biomass, is the largest renewable source out there. In actual fact, it's more than half of all renewable energy sources out there, and you can add up all the others: wind, hydro, solar, which are growing, and we need them to grow substantially over the next couple of decades, but biomass is the largest portion of it. Within the biomass sector itself, solid wood fuels would be the predominant part of it, but we're seeing much more liquid biofuels coming up. Biogas, they're starting to grow in sectors quite strongly. But the solid would be the largest part. In terms of where Ireland is at, we've 27 member states. The renewable heating and cooling in Ireland, we turn out to be the last in 27 states in terms of our use of renewable heat. So you can see as far as 67% in Sweden. The average across Europe is 26%. We're standing down at around a little under 8%. So we've a massive mountain to climb on that, but there's obviously a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of heat usage out there that we can target and start tackling with the various technologies that are available to us. And we would see it as a major area for expansion. They're just a series of reports we've either authored ourselves or been involved in the last couple of years. So we have the 40 by 30 report, which looks at can we replace 40% of all our heat with renewables by 2030. That report, which was compiled by ourselves and our colleagues in Renewable Energy Ireland, absolutely. The resources are actually out there to more than supply all of Ireland's heat with renewables and their standing resources. So there is a huge potential there. We've done the biomass capacity statement. I'll talk a little bit further about that later. We have one for farm management of biomass, the specified biomass harvesting, which you'll hear a lot more from Ken Worrell later on, and we've done a transport renewables report as well, with various publications there on our website if you wish to have a look at those. In terms of the heating sector, and I will go into different sectors now, so in terms of biomass, so this is a sector where we can meet heating demands both on a domestic level, commercial level or industrial level. So it lends itself to all scales, and it's a very versatile technology. What we done a couple of years ago, there was a huge question out there: is do we have enough resources? Can we afford to be using wood material for energy? And so, first of all, leading from a Coford report on the amount of material that is out there and our own work, we produced a solid biomass capacity statement to see exactly how much resources are out there that we can sustainably utilise for energy. And you can see the graph there at the bottom, which basically sets the overall piece on it from solid biomass. But we can, by 2040, we could easily be providing about 20 petajoules. Just to put that into context, Ireland's overall heat demand is 200 petajoules. So the material is out there to produce about 10% of our heat from biomass without really changing anything additional, apart from planting some willow. But as you can see, the vast majority of it is coming from the forestry resource. And that analysis would be quite conservative as well. It's really looking at what we're absolutely certain we can take out without any difficulty. We also, in terms of the capacity of the industry, we run the Wood Fuel Quality Assurance Scheme. We now have over 112 certified suppliers of wood fuel across the country, supplying wood chip, firewood, pellets and briquettes. So we're practically in every county in the country, or we are in every county in the country. So we've an overall reach there, and it's something that it's one of our strongest groups within the association. In terms of industrial and commercial biomass heating, the current status of that at the moment is there is operational plant, large-scale plant, providing heat and what we call high-grade heat, which is high temperature, in dairy processing, pharmaceuticals, the hotel and leisure centres, schools, healthcare, and intensive agriculture. And usually that's either wood chip or wood pellet, and there is plenty of good examples of that around the country. We had a specific event here in April, just looking at the commercial and industrial heating, and it was very well attended, and we do notice lots of conversations going on. Obviously the lead time for some of these larger plants is over the course of a year or two, but there's a lot of conversations have developed from that conference, and we're seeing a huge level of interest from those sectors. There's established supply chains across the country in terms of the wood fuel supply. We have it developed in terms of it being good quality through the WFQA, and we have very good companies there for both the installation and maintenance. We'll talk a little bit about that shortly. And we have support from SEI through the support scheme for renewable heat. So it's quite a well developed system, and something that's readily available for rolling out further. The opportunities really are industrial heat. The industrial heat decarbonisation roadmap clearly identifies that bioenergy has a huge role to play here. We have resources there. We have it's a relatively low cost heating source, but it's also suitable for high temperature and obviously renewable. So it hits a lot of key points where companies are looking to decarbonise, and their options are quite limited. There is a rollout programme within the Department of Education and Youth, which we're delighted to see, and they're looking at a series of schools taking on biomass again. They originally done a programme about almost 20 years ago at this stage, and this will be another iteration of that. It has huge opportunities in district heating, in terms of we see district heating running on biomass right across Europe, and again, as I said, it's supported through the SSRH. A couple of things we have to address as an organisation, as an industry, is that the perception sometimes needs, there's questions over it, and SEI's presentation will cover it, but the fuel supply, is there enough? So that's why we've done the biomass capacity statement. We know what quantity is out there that we can be reliably state this is available to us. The technology, is it reliable? Absolutely. At this stage, they're really well developed plants. A couple of the suppliers are here in the room with trade stands, and if not, they're on seats. But there is, at this stage, the technology is very well developed, very well rolled out right across Europe. We're actually benefiting in Ireland. There's been so much development across Europe over the last number of decades, and some development here in Ireland, that we're in a very strong position and to take in the best technology. There has been questions over air quality, and yes, if you're just going to burn timber straight and not do it correctly, you are going to get emissions of particulates that needs to be addressed. So boiler technology, combustion technology, filtration, it's been possible and has been done where we've now engineered out that problem, and that challenge is something that's readily addressed. We are looking for the extension of the SSRH to the ETS sector, and to lift a cap, which is currently limited at 1 megawatt, to lift it up to allow larger plants to take it on board. In terms of biomass for domestic heating use, this is readily happening. There's rapid deployment possible, so people can very rapidly, obviously, change over from whether they're burning coal into burning or turf into burning timber. It's just a case of what to buy. So you can rapidly decarbonise a home overnight by the use of wood fuels. And every home, or used to be the case of every home, had a stove or a fireplace. We are encouraging people definitely to go on the stove side of it, and it's a readily adaptable use. The capital cost is a lot lower for decarbonisation, and the supply is now certified through the WFQA, and there's regulation around that as well. The current status at the moment, look, it's widely deployed and understood. Everyone knows how to use wood fuel. There is a large network of fuel and appliance suppliers out there. It's a recognised low carbon option. There is opportunities there in terms of, again, it's that rapid means of decarbonisation. It is local, it is indigenous. There's firewood suppliers, you can see from our map, somewhere near you in the country. The challenges that we are coming across is obviously air quality again. On smaller combustion, you're looking at particulates. So the fuel quality has been critical in terms of reducing the level of particulate production. and particulate or smoke. So the solid fuel regulations have that controlled, and those regulations are do need to look at the enforcement of that fully. But the eco-design of appliances, we absolutely encourage people. Open fires are gone, but the stoves, the eco-design stoves, are really of high standard now, and have brought the emissions down in a massive way. But regular maintenance is important for all of those too. The wood fuel suppliers that we have all meet the requirements of the solid fuel regulations. It's going to 20% in September of next year. And we do need to there is some gaps in enforcement of those solid fuel regulations. As it stands, any solid fuel on the market in Ireland must be certified, and it must be under 25% if it's a wood fuel, and that's to bring down the emissions. But that needs enforcement, and certain counties are better than others at that, and certain counties have more resources to enforce that compared to others. So it's a requirement on all suppliers, shops, wherever they are. So summary on that in terms of biomass heating. Look, the resources are there. We have plenty of it. It's a well-developed supply chain, both in terms of fuel and technology for combustion. That technology has advanced rapidly over the last couple of decades, both in terms of cleanliness and for air quality. The Renewable Energy Directive confirms the sustainability criteria. So the Red Directive really sets out what we are actually allowed to use as a raw material and not, and that's been very beneficial to actually have an agreed standard there. And there is established contract models for larger companies, ESCOs, so you can buy in your heat and have a contractor in looking after the boiler and everything else. We have a risk. We started a couple of years ago looking at having a register of biomass systems designers and installers. It's not a legal requirement, the same as you have to have a registered gas installer for your gas system, but we have started that route here in Ireland to have an established register of recognised designers and installers. We run a practitioner's course on that. The next course is on next week, and it's not sure if it's fully booked out, but it's getting close to that at this stage. But we find that very beneficial to have, and we've seen some exemplary installations across the country. So overall, biomass does work very well in reducing our dependence on fossil fuels and as a means to decarbonise. The large-scale biogas and biomethane, Karen spoke quite a lot about this in opening there, and there'll be more talks on it during the day. There's huge potential here in Ireland. We haven't at all met the potential that is there. There is a small network of existing plants, a number now under construction, which is good to see. Quite a lot on planning. There's quite some difficulties getting through planning, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. The initial plants were supported through REFIT, which closed for new applications many years ago, and they're running their way through. But there is a need for this RHO to be introduced for further support. We have the challenges really are come across in terms of planning, getting community acceptance. We're seeing now a huge objection to biogas plants. We're delighted to see this plant going up on a road that half the country is going to be passing on a regular basis, because we think it'll actually help perception quite a lot when they see one up and running. And we do need, the other challenge is, we do need that support system. The renewable heat obligation is critical to get these plants up and running and make them economically viable, and the capital grant system. So there are some regulatory items as well which need to be worked through, but then as an organisation, that's what we tend to work on in the background. The opportunities there is a target of 5.7 terawatt hours by 2030. Not sure if we'll meet that, but we definitely will do our best to see if we can get to it. The capital support budget of 40 million, we're looking for that to be continued. That has been a huge benefit. The RHO is critical to get that in place. And the other thing we have to remember in this biomethane, biogas, it has a huge role to play. We have a massive challenge in getting our greenhouse gas targets met, and it has a big role to play in that. Things we need to address: digestate management, renewer, which is an EU requirement, an EU allowance, which I won't go into the technicals of it, but those who know what it is. That needs to be transposed into Irish law. We do need to recognise the digestate standard. We're looking for EPA consistency in the implementation of the standards in licensing. Again, going back to that planning and public perception is something that needs to be addressed, and the implementation of the RHO is critical. So again, key asks: RHO number one. We do need an announcement of the capital support programme, the details of that. The raising awareness and acceptance is another key critical issue, along with the ongoing support measures and the transposition of renewal. On farm scale, we've just completed a project which a number of years ago we identified that there's a potential gap there for small-scale biogas plants on farms, rather than this idea of, and which still works, but rather than going into a farm and replacing all the livestock, can we go in there with a biogas plant just to act as a tool to manage slurry and to manage farm wastes? So we started this project. It was funded under the EAP program in 2019, and we successfully identified quite a number of farms where this would be suitable on, and we progressed to getting planning on 3 plants. One didn't get planning. We applied for planning on 3. One decided the farm not to proceed, but then we have one demonstration plant which we had an open day on last week in Galway, the Gildea Farm biogas plant. So it's successfully up and running since April. That farm, it's 230 cow dairy organic herd, and the robotic milk all year round. They put in 11 tonnes of slurry and manure a day, and they are able to produce all their own slurry, or all their own electricity, and meet heat demands on site as well. So we have more details on that on the flyer, as Sean had said earlier. And there is huge opportunities there for farm scale biogas. We do think we've met a lot of farms that are interested in this, but we are looking for a 50%. We were able to give that farm a 50% grant through the program we had, but that needs to be rolled out. We need to fund maybe 3 million so that about a dozen or so plants can be built on farms as a further pilot to get this going further. There are other issues in terms of getting connection to electrical grid and getting an MEC and being able to sell the power, the excess. But overall, that project has been quite a success. Liquid biofuels, the current status of that, we have 2 producers in Ireland. The main issues there are it's incorporated into all our road diesel and petrol at the moment at a certain blend rate through the Renewable Transport Fuel Obligation Scheme. There are challenges though. There is a lot of imported material coming from outside Europe, and going back to that RED directive, we need to ensure that all material meets the requirements of the RED directive. There is stories going around that there's potential that a lot of material could be coming into Europe from countries where it's very questionable as to the sourcing of that raw material, and the ecological impact could be massive. So we need to ensure that all material that is going into our road fuel is RED properly certified through RED, and it's only allowing that. So we must, otherwise we get seen displacement of material coming in from outside Europe because it's coming in cheaper. There is a huge opportunity. Obviously, there's a lot of petrol and diesel being used in the country for all ranges of transport, and there's a massive potential to increase more of that. We do need proper enforcement of RED. We are looking for a 7% Indigenous FAME blend to allow support of our Indigenous production, and the mineral oil tax relief, we're looking for that again. It's something that was here 15, 20 years ago. That's 37 cents a litre, so we're looking for relief on that for indigenously produced fuels, and for the removal of certs from POMI. The last piece then is biochar. So Stephen is our resident expert on this. IrBEA has been working on biochar for almost 10 years at this stage, and so we've various projects going in this, but essentially biochar was a new area for IrBEA. It's basically charcoal produced from biological material. It's a really important material. It has got huge benefits in terms of what it can achieve in terms of locking in carbon, in terms of producing energy at the same time, and in terms of its overall uses afterwards. We have a growing network within IrBEA. We have a committee set up for this. We have members right across the interest range, and that from supplying equipment to interested in using material. So it's something that, again, Stephen has more information on it. We have a leaflet on it. We've loads of details on the website, and I'd encourage you to have a look at that. Biochar is one of the best means of fixing carbon out of the atmosphere, and one of the cheapest ways of doing it. So there's huge potential in that. It's well recognised by the IPCC on this, and as I said, we have an very active group within IrBEA working on biochar. The various uses for this, I mean, there's hundreds of different uses for biochar. Mainly, it's a material, especially activated. It is a massive material for filtration. It is really good for filtering water, for filtering air. There's huge potential in that. It's also a good nutrient store. So a lot of research has been done. It has huge enhancement for growing crops, for horticulture, for water treatment, as a building material. The range of uses are extensive. So it's something that we're really excited about it. So I'm finished with that. So thanks very much for your time. Cheers.
Thanks very much, Noel, for your presentation. I think just your presentation kind of sums up the breadth of the work that's going on in the Irish Bioenergy Association, but more broadly by members and the sector in bioenergy generally. And there is quite a lot of interlinkages between the sectors. Like, we know that a number of the biomethane developers are looking at biomass as a heating source on their projects. We know that biochar is being used by some of the biomethane biogas producers in terms of enhancement, or could be used in terms of enhancement of biogas yield. So there's a lot of interconnection between the sectors and the areas in which we work.